detection of endometriosis. Endometriosis is one of the donate, please donate. You see the yellow ribbon? Alright, I'm continuing. Endometriosis is one of the most potentially excruciating and destructive chronic inflammatory disease, yet it remains widely misunderstood and underdiagnosed. Based on the researchers of Drs. Nezhat and their colleagues, it is estimated that between 400 and 800 million people worldwide may be affected by endometriosis, yet the average delay to diagnosis remains 7 to 10 years. 7 to 10 years of pain, 7 to 10 years of unanswered questions, 7 to 10 years of being told that the symptoms are normal. For many patients, this delay can lead to years of suffering, disease progression, organ dysfunction, infertility, and profound impact on quality of the life. This is why early detection and awareness are so crucial. Tonight, you will hear from young advocates whose stories remind us why recognizing symptoms earlier, believing patients sooner, and improving education around this disease is so important. Before we begin the program, I would like to recognize the generosity that made this event possible. The Nezhat Family Foundation has generously sponsored this gala so that the funds raised tonight can support the continued work of the EndoMarch movement, expanding awareness, education, research, and advocacy around the world. You may notice that some guests are wearing yellow ribbons, as myself. These ribbons recognize individuals who have already made a donation in support of the EndoMarch movement, and we are deeply grateful for their generosity. At each of your seats, you will find a donation envelope if you would like to contribute. Donations can be made by check, cash, or credit card, and you may also visit endomarch.org and click Donate to contribute online. If you make a donation this evening and do not yet have a ribbon, we would be honored to present you with a yellow ribbon as a small symbol of your support for this movement. Every contribution helps expand awareness, improve research, and move us closer to earlier detection and better care for those living with endometriosis. Now it's my great honor to introduce a visionary surgeon whose work has transformed modern medicine and improved the lives of countless patients around the world. Widely recognized as the father of the modern-day surgery, Dr. Nezhat invented and pioneered video-assisted endoscopy, which has revolutionized surgery by replacing many open procedures with safer, less invasive techniques that continue to benefit millions worldwide. In the 70s and 80s, most surgeons still operating through large incisions, Dr. Nezhat began performing complex procedures while operating from monitors using video technology, an approach which laid the foundation for the minimally invasive and robotic-assisted techniques used in the operating rooms around the world today. Over the course of his career, Dr. Nezhat and his team have pioneered many of the most advanced laparoscopic and robotic procedures, authored textbooks, and hundreds of scientific publications, and trained generations of surgeons who now live in their own communities. In 2020, Dr. Nezhat received the American Medical Association's highest honor, the Distinguished Service Award, for his meritorious service to the art and the science of medicine. AMA President at the time, Susan R. Bailey, MD, praised him as an innovator whose work has fundamentally changed contemporary surgery and opened a path for surgeons around the world to help their patients. Beyond his surgical innovations, Dr. Nezhat has also been a tireless advocate for patients living with endometriosis. He is the founder of the worldwide Endometriosis March, or EndoMarch, a global grassroots movement working to raise awareness and advance better diagnosis and treatment of this disease. He is also the founder of the American and Global College of Endometriosis Specialists, ACCESS, which brings together physicians, researchers, and leaders from around the world dedicated to advancing excellence in endometriosis and adenomyosis care. His work has transformed surgery into a more precise, less invasive, and more patient-centered discipline. And his advocacy has helped give a voice to millions of patients who for too long were unheard. Please join me in welcoming a visionary surgeon, educator, and advocate, Dr. Nezhat.
Good evening. Thank you very much, sir. It is actually what she was saying is all about you, not about me. It has been said before that it takes a village. So collaboration happens progress happens when there is a collaboration between different disciplines. Years ago, there was one of my professors or teachers, mentors, his name was Dr. Sam Clayton White, that was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He was one of the founders of the Lovelace Clinic. He was one of the first physicians in Los Alamos for the atomic bomb. And his brother was White, one of the Supreme Court judges who passed away a while back ago. So Dr. White says, Cameron, progress happens when there is collaboration between different disciplines. And this is what you have been doing to really help millions of patients around the world. So the progress happened because of I was very, very lucky to be involved from the very beginning with great teachers, mentors, so many of them that I have written their name in detail that is going to be published in one of the journals here. That is sponsoring the American, or is sponsoring all the American and Global College of Endometriosis Specialist paper. It is called Journal of Clinical Medicine. One of our fellows at the Nezhat actually finalized the final reviews. So there are so many people over the years of my career that it would be unfair to mention one and not mention all. So I have written them in detail. So the ultimate beneficiary of all of that, because of this collaboration with all of these disciplines, have been ultimately patients and millions of lives who have been saved and being saved more and more through the process of minimally invasive and robotic surgery. And the foundation of them originally were the patient with endometriosis. All of you heard that when there is an endometriosis patient treating them, it could be worse than any cancer. And when I started my career, it was my interest ended up being with endometriosis because of my own family having had endometriosis and people that I have involved. I have dedicated one of our earlier books to people that have cared about endometriosis, and that is a long story. In one of the books about endometriosis, advanced treatment that we have published, I have dedicated it to one of the people that I have to mention, her name is Nezhat, at that time, who was the daughter, son, Clayton White. That is one of them. My own mother had endometriosis. Other people in my own family, my other sisters had endometriosis, and some of the other people that in my life I have been involved. So endometriosis is really ultimately, to my knowledge, I have outlasted any surgeon, and I have outperformed, and I have had the longest, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you some facts about endometriosis, that I have done it more than anybody else, and it still is puzzling me. And I have seen all of this here, that great many of you are here, intelligent scientists, and unfortunately, we are not that much, except minimally invasive surgery, that has been fundamentally a change in the management that makes a difference. We still don't have a very, very 100% way to prevent it, to diagnose it, or to treat it. And I have in this room among you, again, I don't want to mention one name, that would be unfair, excellent scientists that I have been working with them at Stanford, UCSF, and some of them around the world that I mentioned this morning, some of them across in Europe. The endometriosis still is enigmatic. Still, could be as innocent as possible, of doing nothing to you, that become worse than any cancer. That is why progress happens when there is collaboration between different disciplines. And we are here because we need you to really do something about it. Because if we just said, I didn't see any change at all since I started. In 1986, in Times and Newsweek magazine, I have been in this country about 10 years, 12 years, and I already knew what it was, and I was seeing people, they tell them it's in their head. And we started minimally invasive and robotic surgery. At that time, it was completely disregarded by medical establishment. They thought it was a gimmick. They thought it's a bubble. It was all published in famous, important journals like Lancet, like American Journal of, it is called Green Journal, Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology, who is the establishment of respected Bible of OBGYN in the United States and throughout the world. They call it a gimmick. And they reference the paper that I had published as the reference of gimmick. The same editor, to his credit, 18 years later, admitted that he was wrong. The same thing that when I started, they call it gimmick, or they call it barbaric in 2000. And almost, me and my brothers, we went almost to jail for it. In 2004, New England Journal of Medicine called it, this is the way to go. And as you can see, more and more, the world is changing. And minimally invasive surgery and robotic surgery changes lives of millions of women, because other disciplines of medicine and surgery are benefiting from the patients with endometriosis, because we developed it for endometriosis. That endometriosis dilemma is still not changed. It's still the same thing. So we need your help to do it. I am putting my money where our mouth is. Personally, myself, I have donated all of my wealth, what I have, to the Nezhat Family Foundation. My brothers also, they are helping as much as possible. I don't have much, but I do. I have donated there, and I'm really willing to do something for patients with endometriosis, because I want to make a change. But it is too little. I need more help. For example, what we are donating tonight is not going to go, this gala is not part of the donation. We support it personally ourselves. For example, this meeting, put it together, it is approximately $700,000 is worth of this meeting. The unfortunate because a lot of people registered. We had to close it at 300, but 100 are people that we have paid for them. The hotels are here, everything's paid. They didn't show up. You see, that is why we have to change. We need you to get involved and do something. Well, so I want to stop here because I can talk a long time for a long thing, and I don't want to bother you, but I want to see you an example of some of these changes or some of our patients that I let them, the new generation, these are your daughters, your sisters, your wife, your future people. Many of you are here that you have done a lot. I don't want to put you on the speak, but I start with Ellen Ryan, I let Lily Niehaus and Quincy Harding, I let them come and say something because I don't want to introduce them one by one. But please come, Ellen, first you, and then Lily, you come, and then Quincy. Tell a little bit of your story for your parents, for your friends, and see what you are going through. Here, come on. I just say a little bit about Ellen. Ellen is one thing that it is, for example, I don't know how many of you know that golf courses could be immune, lower your immune factor, and could get you involved with endometriosis. Did you know that golf courses could be a reason for the men that their autoimmune goes down and the problems of Parkinson's disease in men, a lot of them has been contributed to endometriosis. Did you know that a lot of golfer patients, I have several of them, one of them doesn't mind, she couldn't be here, and then Samantha Stockton, she's a known golfer. She told me, whenever she's golfing, she used to get a golf ball and lick it with her palm to make it cleaner. And that really makes the immune factor go so down, all of those chemicals, it could explode. And she has not the worst endometriosis. And Lily, I'm sorry, Ellen is one of them. Ellen, go ahead and put them.
Thank you, Dr. Nezhat. Good evening, everyone. My name is Elon Ryan, and I am 17 years old. When I was 14, I spent hours lying on the floor of my bedroom because sitting up hurt too much. While my classmates were in school, laughing in the hallways, planning their weekends, going to football games, living their high school years, I was stuck at home, staring at the ceiling with the heating pad on my back, waiting for waves of pain to pass so I could breathe. Sometimes the pain was so intense I couldn't even move, let alone walk. Sometimes it sent me to the hospital for days. In the last 4 years alone, I've been hospitalized 12 times because the pain became too severe to manage anywhere else. While my classmates were busy making memories, I was fighting just to survive one day. For most people, high school is 4 years of memories, but for me, it was 4 years of fighting my own body. My symptoms started during my freshman year of high school. Almost overnight, my body stopped cooperating with me. Pain shot through my back and down my legs. Sitting through class became nearly impossible, and even the simplest parts of daily life became unpredictable. At first, nobody had answers for me. I saw multiple spine specialists, neurologists, and physical therapists. I went through multiple MRIs, scans, and other tests that felt like endlessness. Every result came back the same, normal. But nothing about what I was experiencing felt normal. The hardest part was not the pain, it was the doubt and being ignored. When you're 14 and doctors suggest that maybe your pain is anxiety, stress, or something you'll grow out of, you start to question yourself. You begin wondering maybe if you're exaggerating, maybe you're supposed to fight through it. But deep down, I knew something in my body was wrong. Even when I couldn't sit in a chair, I refused to give up on my school or my goals. I studied lying on the floor with the heating pad in the prone position and textbooks balanced on my knees. My dream of one day playing collegiate golf gave me something to hold on to when everything else felt uncertain. But along the way, some of the best doctors in the world told me that my athletic career was over. They told me that my body wouldn't be able to handle the intensity of sports. I refused to accept that. Over the years, I saw some of the best doctors at Stanford and UCSF. My family and I searched everywhere for answers for years. About 1 year ago, I underwent my first ablation surgery. During that procedure, one small spot of endometriosis was removed, and I was finally given a diagnosis. I was told I was cured. For about 4 months, I experienced relief. For the first time in years, I thought maybe my life was returning, but that relief didn't last. That pain came back with a vengeance at the start of my senior year of high school. The webs of endometriosis have taken over my body, tingling around several organs and nerves. Some days the pain was so severe, I couldn't even move my limbs. The treatment plan offered by many specialists was to flood my body full of medications that would put me into medical menopause and see what would happen. But that never felt like a real solution. It wasn't until my mom found Dr. Nezhat that something finally changed for me. For the first time in years, someone really took the time and listened to my story and took my case seriously. Dr. Nezhat and his family have spent his entire career fighting for women with endometriosis. For decades, they have dedicated their lives not only to treating this disease, but also to advancing surgical techniques and training the next generation of surgeons to master their craft. When he reviewed my case and listened to my story, he said something no doctor has ever told me before. The pain was not in my head. After years of being dismissed and ignored, those words meant everything to me, and I still carry them with me to this day. About 8 weeks ago, Dr. Nezhat performed my stage 4 endometriosis excision surgery. For the first time in years, I felt like someone was not just managing this disease, but truly fighting it. Doctors like Dr. Nezhat and his team represent something incredibly important: hope. Living with endometriosis has changed how I see the world. It's taught me resilience, patience, and empathy for people whose struggles may not be visible. It has also shaped my future. Because of my experiences, I want to become a women's health nurse. I want to be the person who listens when a patient says something is wrong and be treated as an actual human being and not some statistic you pull off Google. Because no patient should ever feel invisible. I can't get the last 4 years of high school back. I can't redo the days I spent lying at home on the floor while life outside my room kept moving. But what those years taught me is something far more important. They taught me resilience, they taught me empathy, and they taught me that sometimes the strongest people in the room are the ones fighting the strongest battles you can't see. My journey with endometriosis is not over, but I know one thing for certain. Pain may have taken 4 years of my life, but it did not take my purpose. This fall, I will begin a new chapter. I've been honored to receive a full tuition scholarship at Simpson University, where I will begin my nursing journey while competing as a collegiate golfer. Some of the best doctors in the world once told me my athletic career was over. They were wrong. A few months ago, Dr. Nezhat said something to me that I still carry with me every day in my heart. Forward we go. And to that I say, charge. Because even in the face of invisible battles, we keep moving forward. Thank you.
We just need to listen, really. We really need to listen, and the stories are so many of them. And I am going to go with the next one. Lily is going to be here. Is Lily here? Oh, here. So another one of the future physician, researcher is Lily, and I tell you Lily to tell a story.
I'm Lily. Thank you, Ellen. That was incredibly inspiring. Feeling it's really hard to come after that. That was incredible. As a 17-year-old, I can't even imagine what you've been through. But I wanted to talk today mostly about my patient journey in, as I guess a concise way as possible. But the main purpose of this is really that my story doesn't just apply to me. This applies to a lot of other women, and there's plenty of other women I've seen in the clinic, plenty of other friends, family members that are suffering from the same things, and there's just really no answers. In my opinion, I think we barely understand these intricate complexities of the female body, so trying to understand it in this advanced of a disease state with so many factors going on is a really hard task, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. And I think that's what Dr. Nezhat has taught me, that's what Dr. Asias has taught me, and a lot of the other doctors here have already taught me as well. I began my health journey sort of, I guess, when I was 12, and ever since I had a period, there was so much pain. It felt weird in my body, it felt weird in my mind, I had nausea, I was throwing up, and I went to an all-girls school, and I remember girls helping me out in the bathroom, and you know, and immediately they just were like, here's birth control, and, you know, go figure it out. And I was like, okay. And so I did, went on my way, and that helped suppress it for a while. But I'm 26 years old now, and I wasn't diagnosed until 4 months ago. And I, before this, had plenty of other comorbidities, as we call them, but that I actually had to bring these ideas of diagnoses to doctors because none of my labs were completely abnormal, and I seemed fine, I looked fine. Endometriosis is one of those things, like EDS, like POTS, like some other, even just autonomic nervous system disorders, a lot of disorders that affect women, they can be invisible diseases, and that doesn't mean that they don't exist, and that actually makes care harder, because you present as healthy, but inside there are a million little fires going on. And I think it's a really easy way to gaslight yourself and think that it's all in your head because you seem fine, you look okay. But I think it wasn't until I really met Dr. Nezhat and some of these other doctors that I started to realize we actually need to be teaching women this. We need to be teaching them that an abnormal period is not normal. That's not part of being a woman necessarily. And there is something we can do about it. And I didn't realize how much irreversible damage that endometriosis can cause. And ultimately, there's a lot at stake for a lot of people. And so for me, I started off with kind of the last 5 years. Started off with getting diagnosed with Lyme's disease, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome, mast cell activation syndrome, a bunch of other things. And I was getting sick a lot. I just didn't feel like myself. I was trying to do a master's in exercise oncology, and I remember giving my cancer patients a questionnaire that they had to take every day. And I would get it back and be like, wow, you are feeling better than I am right now, which is crazy. And so that was when I was like, wow, I really need to figure this out, because I don't know, if I want to be a good care provider, I need to take care of myself. And so I went down this whole thing. I tried hyperbaric oxygen, neurological rehab, but I did get to a point where I was just staring at a wall. And I was, you know, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to go and do these amazing things, but the amount of brain fog, fatigue, immense shooting pain down my legs, down my arms, everywhere. You're told you have rheumatoid arthritis. Oh, your rheumatoid factor is normal. So what are you supposed to do? And all these little jumps and little leaps that you're trying to take and no one's giving you an answer. It literally wasn't until 4 months ago. After I went through all of this with all of these different people, I still didn't feel okay. I had severe urinary symptoms and just really bad discomfort. And it just got to the point where I had to demand an ultrasound, and I said, please look and see what's happening, because there's something happening. And I wish that I had said something earlier. And as somebody, as I mentioned before, that has some sort of background in this, has been trying to educate themselves in it, it just strikes me as so crazy that I didn't even think about it, and I didn't even know to ask. And when I finally did, a lot of surgeons told me they weren't going to be able to save my ovaries, my uterus, my bladder. And I just remember after those appointments sitting there and thinking there has to be a better way. And that's when I found Dr. Nezhat, and I gave him the rundown in 3 minutes, and then he said, do you want to work with me? And I was like, yes, I would love to work with you, but you know, what about the surgery? And so he also did the surgery afterwards. But it was insane to have somebody look at me, because I've been turned down by so many primary cares, by almost every doctor, because I'm so complicated. So it's like, where am I supposed to go? And there's actually a lot of other people experiencing that. And he was able to just be calm about it, be like, I can handle your surgery, I know what I'm doing, and I just immediately was, yes, like, I trust you, you know what you're doing, you have done this for so many women. And so he did a beautiful surgery. Immediately after, I felt lighter. I just felt like a different person. My hands stopped swelling, I could put my rings back on, you know, I didn't have the shooting pain down my legs. You know, come to figure out it was all over all of my pelvic nerves and sciatic nerves and everything like that. But it's crazy that I can even go there. And so I think there's a lot of pain that can come from endometriosis that feels psychosomatic, and in reality it's really not. And sometimes your body after surgery remembers that pain. And that's something I experienced, where I felt this lingering pain, just kind of random things, and then it turned into intense chest pain. So I went to the ER a couple times feeling like I had a pulmonary embolism. Nobody could really give me an answer. And there's still a lot that needs to be done on thoracic endometriosis, but after that, Dr. Nezhat referred me to Dr. Osias, and she had this entirely new perspective on this. And after working at Nezhat's office, we have, you know, the end of a consult, the end of a post-op, and often patient will ask, well, what else can I do right now? Like, I'm about to go into surgery, what else can I do? And I guess I can give you a QR code for a diet that maybe you could follow and maybe could help. But if this is the gold standard of surgery and it's saving all these lives, why not also have another gold standard of care next to it, which is basically the complementary part, which is the endocrinology, the more, you know, cellular level stuff, because this is a whole body disease. It affects everything. You see the variety of symptoms, you see how it affects different people, so this needs to be treated very individually. And I think that there are really bright people out there, and it makes me really, really happy right now to be working with a bunch of women and really awesome men, but also just being able to see and hear other people's stories. Dr. Osias started using basically exosomes and peptides with me to try to strengthen my system, and I started to feel better in 2 weeks. I used to not be able to walk up the stairs without my heart rate going to 160 and almost passing out, and I just carried like giant bags of laundry up and down stairs in Sausalito. And everything makes sense on a biochemical level, and that's why I want to share this so badly with other women. And I also feel like education is really important, because if you don't know, you literally don't know. Even if you're a doctor, if you're anybody. So this is why the more you talk about it, even if you're a spouse, a friend, whoever is here, you could mention it to one of your friends when you're playing, I don't know, pickleball, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, my daughter might have that. That could have saved her kidney. I don't know. You never know. And so I think the more we talk about it, the more we spread the word, and the more we start to actually recognize that women are in pain and their pain is real, that's when we start to move forward.
Thank you very much, Lily. I just want you to know we selectively, there are so many countless number of the patients. And you know, endometriosis doesn't always cause pain. Only a small fraction. It is not, there are women with endometriosis that are completely silent. And you find some of the cause are not forever. It might cause nothing at all, but it could cause cancer, as I said. Another group that they are really are suffering are women with endometriosis who want to get pregnant. And that is another story, a large number of them. Many of them are here, but some of them have children. I just don't want to, the time would not allow, but I devoted it only to a small portion that they are planning to become scientists. They are likely, I just mentioned one of them. I don't know if Zoe Quick is here or not, but one of them was Zoe, that her father is Professor Quick. He's finally have convinced him that he's a genius himself. Are they here by any chance or not? Oh, you guys are here, okay, good. Zoe, if you may want to come and if you have time, because you're one of the speakers, just let people look at you, because I want to say something. That finally I have badgered her father so much for years at Stanford, that finally, because we have been looking at every different way. I am relentless in badgering people that let's find a way. Let's find a way, let's find a way. And because we have been doing many years of work with Dr. Julie at Stanford, UCSF, and many others, but we have not gotten here. So I thought perhaps we should look at it a different way. And by some reason, suddenly I saw Zoe. I had met Steve before, but I was not able to convince him. So for some reason, Zoe came, and Zoe She was one of the speakers last year. She's a brilliant woman. She's going to, after Stanford, she's going now to Oxford. She's going to be a PhD. So we are making little changes, and hopefully we make a change. But I intentionally also started, so infertility is a major factor. Another factor is people losing their kidneys. They have problems with their lungs. And when they get pregnant, the complications of the pregnancy of endometriosis is very high. We already heard the keynote speech by Professor Nezhat that how he said it's placenta abnormalities, miscarriages, early miscarriages, even for mild disease, endometriosis of the appendix. Some of them become more and more. Some of them are even cancerous. It's so vast, and nobody, and somebody during the speakers today say, during the whole medical school, there is only one lecture about endometriosis. I think it was Professor Rob, past president of AMA. I think it was you or somebody else. So it's so much you can say. I'm saying all of that because the future generation has to check. Quincy, whose mother was my patient, I did surgery on her. She got pregnant. Now she's Quincy. I let her to say something again. Of course, I don't know, did Zoe come by any chance? No. So if she wanted to come, she might say something because I was very impressed. Zoe was one of the speakers last year, and then I found that she's already in Oxford. And that really touched me that she has decided to follow her father's step to do basic science with cell biology to find something for endometriosis. So I had to add her to say something. Zoe, just come to stay, say something. This is Zoe. You are really the future generation. And if you want to say 2 words about how was your mistake, why did you decide to do this? And you know, just and then continue.
Okay, thank you for having me for a very impromptu speech. Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank you guys all for being here. It's obviously a cause that's really impacted me personally. I'm so grateful to Dr. Nezhat and the rest of my care team. And I was studying symbolic systems at Stanford and doing my master's in biomedical data science. And my experience with endometriosis and all the support I've gotten from this community has really inspired me. And I'll be starting my DPhil in women's and reproductive health at Oxford, and hopefully being able to really give back to a community that has given so much to me, including great care team, really invaluable support system. Quincy and I met at the last EndoMarch, and it's a support system that you have for life. So I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Quincy and I'm so honored to be here speaking again for the second time. I see lots of familiar faces and it's really nice. If you'd met me a few years ago, you probably wouldn't have seen anything wrong with me. I was a high-performing student, a dancer, a competitive volleyball player, and I was constantly busy, doing everything that a typical teenager was supposed to be doing. But that at the same time, I was in pain. Not just occasional discomfort, but monthly debilitating pain that interfered with school, sleep, and daily life. My friends, family, and even medical professionals reaffirmed the narrative that painful periods were normal, and it was just something I had to push through. So I did. For a long time, I completely ignored my body. I normalized what shouldn't have been normalized. But endometriosis doesn't just affect the body. It leaves patients feeling as though they're overreacting, not strong enough, or somehow responsible for the pain that they're in. And when that happens, people start to question themselves. I remember wondering, am I just not strong enough? Why does it feel like every other woman can get through something, but I can't? And I've come to realize that this isn't a unique experience. Every person with endometriosis that I've spoken to has described the same moment of relief. Whenever Dr. Nezhat tells a patient, your pain is not in your head, you can see the weight lift off their shoulders the same way that mine did. The moment of validation isn't solely comfort, it's a turning point. It's the first step to actually getting care. I carried my self-doubt with me until I met Dr. Nezhat. For the first time, someone didn't question me. He believed me, and that moment changed everything. Since my stage 4 endodiagnosis and surgery, I've become deeply involved in clinical internship work with Dr. Nezhat and his incredible team, and alongside research and advocacy efforts. Through my online platform, I've worked to make information about endometriosis more accessible, especially for young women who are just starting to experience symptoms. What I found is that the responses are often the same. Messages from girls saying, "I thought this was normal." Parents asking, "How do I know if something is wrong?" People finally putting words to things that they've been experiencing for years. Because the reality is that this information isn't reaching people early enough, or in a way that they can actually digest. Adolescents aren't being taught what menstruation should and shouldn't feel like, and caregivers often don't know what to look for as well. Without that foundation, it becomes much harder to recognize when something is wrong and to advocate for care. 2 years ago, a family friend frantically called my mom. She had just read about my diagnosis and internship work with Dr. Nezhat in our annual holiday card. Her daughter had been to the emergency room for 3 times due to severe period pain. She knew that something wasn't normal, but no one had believed her or her daughter. As many of you may have guessed, she was diagnosed with endometriosis. After being connected with Dr. Nezhat, she was able to undergo surgery, and today she's thriving in her first year of college, finally able to enjoy her life. That moment really stayed with me, not because of where she learned about endometriosis, but because it demonstrated something much bigger. Awareness alone isn't enough. People need to be believed. Through my work in this space, I've had the opportunity to see endometriosis from both a patient and a clinical perspective. As a patient, I understand how it feels to have your pain questioned, minimized, or misunderstood. But through clinical experience, I've also seen how many women have had their symptoms overlooked, misinterpreted, and dismissed, especially when they don't fit the expected presentation. That gap between what patients experience and what is acknowledged is where delays in diagnosis lie. One of the most important things I've learned is this. People often know when something is wrong with them, but the issue isn't a lack of symptoms. It's a lack of recognition and a fear of self-advocacy after years of dismissal. In particular, adolescents often feel hesitant to speak up, question authority, or rock the boat. And that's why awareness really matters. That's why education matters, and that's why conversations like this matter. Because the earlier that someone can recognize that their pain isn't within the typical range, the sooner they can seek care. And the sooner they're taken seriously, the more that we can change the trajectory of their life. So tonight, my proposal to you all is simple. Talk to every single pediatrician you know. Because for so many women, symptoms actually start in adolescence, not when infertility becomes an issue. Just as importantly, we need to be having these conversations earlier, before someone even steps into a doctor's office. Many adolescents are never taught what period pain should and shouldn't feel like, which makes it even harder to recognize when something is wrong. If we can change what happens in that first conversation, if we can shift from, "Is this normal?" to "Let's look into this," we can change everything. We can shorten time to diagnosis, we can reduce years of unnecessary pain, years of a girl's life lost. And we can make sure that young women don't grow up thinking that suffering is something that they're supposed to accept. While my journey was incredibly difficult, the ability to turn that experience into something that benefits someone else, to help other women feel seen, heard, and understood sooner has mattered most. No one should have to question their pain, and no one should have to fight to be believed. Thank you all so much for being here and for the role that each of you plays in improving the world of endometriosis care.
Thank you very much, Quincy. So there are many stories over and over like that, but you are the people who are going to really change that. I'd like to thank all of you. It's very important that I say one more word, that the change has already started. Worldwide EndoMarch, we started 14 years ago, 15 years ago. My brother, Dr. Nezhat, Dr. Sina Nezhat, and my niece, Azad Nezhat, and one of my researchers who has been very close and has been working with me for 24 years, Barbara Page, and we started Worldwide EndoMarch. And this is now in more than 80 countries. We are doing our part, thank you. American and Global College of Endometriosis specialist. So one of the people from the very beginning, one of the countries who, in the year of 15 years ago, I was in Europe speaking at a meeting. I was sitting at a dinner, and Yasin Miramadi was sitting with her husband, who was a speaker today, Professor Nouri at the University of Vienna. Yasin, please come and say something if you have time. If you want, she started, please come on. She started and said that we want to do this in Austria. And Austria was the first country that started worldwide EndoMarch. She was one of the heroes of the year for endometriosis. I just want to know they have been very successful. They have grown in Austria, the worldwide EndoMarch significantly, their EndoMarch from every year. Just if you want to say a couple of words about what you have done and how people have done. Congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Yasin Miramadi. I'm based in Vienna, the city of walls and sound of music. Talking about sound, last year in Atlanta, I had no voice. I'm very honored to be here this evening, and thank you, Professor Nezhat, for having me here. As Professor Nezhat already mentioned, we started the movement 14 years ago in Vienna. So immediately, as he was mentioning to us, to me and my husband, that they are starting with a movement, immediately it touched my heart, because in my own family, I knew that my own family suffered from endometriosis, and I'm a fertility psychologist, so I have everyday fertility patients suffering from endometriosis, so we wanted to be part of this great movement. So we started immediately 2014 with an event at the University of Vienna. And we didn't know where we are going and how big it's going to be, what we have started. What we did is we thought what we could do is to unite all the fertility clinics, all the universities, all the societies, and all the around Austria, and also we had Esre joined us, and we had a bus going to all the cities in Austria, and with the help of medical students, we started to talk about endometriosis, to give lectures, and to let people know that there is a movement with worldwide EndoMarch starting in Austria. What we did is to keep the movement going on, we started having every year a symposium at the University of Vienna, where we had all the societies and universities involved. Every year, one of Professor Nezhat, either they were in person with us, or they had sent us a video, which we started, a welcoming video for the team. As you see here, University of Vienna, we started, the first time we started, we had like maybe 50, 60, and kept growing. And this year, we have, well, more than 200 people, and we had almost no seats. So, congratulations, and thank you very much for all your support. But Professor Kamran Nezhat not only inspired me doing worldwide EndoMarch, he also mentioned once that philanthropy is global, and we have almost no publication on African women suffering from endometriosis. I was involved in philanthropy work, and we got to know an organization named Virtue Foundation, and they once mentioned that they have a mission in Ghana. So this was immediately, again, okay, let's see, let's go, let's join the mission and see what happens. Actually, as I looked up yesterday again, in PubMed there are no publications on women and Ghanaian women. So what we did is, okay, let's start the mission and see where we go. We started going to Ghana since 2014. We are every year, once a year in Ghana for 1 week. And this is totally non-profit, so all of us, we pay from our pocket and go there and try to help women and girls. So we are focused on just women health and girls, especially gynecology. We try to cooperate with the university in Accra and hospitals in Accra, but we also go to regions where there is no and very little health support. Dr. Kubi, who's actually for the second time joining this conference, is the head of the gynecology at the Bank Hospital, and he's the one we are looking into women and with endometriosis, and he's doing the laparoscopic surgeries at the Bank Hospital. What we do, we gather the whole year devices. We have sent many beds and ultrasounds, because in order to start with looking into patients or see and get hopefully one day to see if they are suffering from endometriosis or not, we need ultrasounds. And it's very difficult to get these things there, so we are there 1 week, but we actually work the whole year. But it's a fantastic work. I can just say, every time we go there, we can't wait to go next year. It's because this country is incredible. The people in Ghana, they are so kind and they are so thankful. I want to believe that one day we are going to have more publication and data on Ghanaian women. So this is Dr. Kubi operating in the hospitals where we go in Tumu. But it's not just changing knowledge, it's also educating women, the girls, the school girls, also the nurses. And I want to tell you that it's not just educating the nurses in the hospitals, but this is 2 days ago, EndoMarch in one of the poorest regions and villages in Ghana. The last event in Vienna was on 10th of March, where we had for the first time all the patients and all patient supporters at the meeting with us. And we also for 1 year, since 1 year, we have a treatment for patients suffering from endometriosis going to rehab. This is supported by the insurance in Austria, and we are very proud of that. I'm going to finish with celebrating and congratulating Nowruz to everyone, of course. And the best thing that we were told this year is next year the EndoMarch event will be supported by City Hall of Vienna. And this is where on 11th of March 2027, the worldwide EndoMarch is going to take part. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nuri, Professor Nuri, for your incredible work in Austria. As you can see, they have really brought it to the level of the government. She has been also part of the United Nations. So I would, as I said, we were lucky. It takes a village. It has been collaboration. My brothers, Dr. Paul Nezhat, Kamani, Christina Nezhat, and Dr. Barbara Page, who unfortunately lost her brother recently, about 2 weeks ago, in a heart attack in a young age. She couldn't be here. These are all part of the people who started EndoMarch. And Dr. Paul Nezhat is going to introduce the next hero of the year, Endo Hero of the Year, that many of you have been waiting to hear.
Good evening, welcome again, and thank you very much for all of your support. Since we started the EndoMarch, we decided to every year give an honor to somebody that has made significant contribution to endometriosis. Some of them already are here. Professor Alan Cherry, Professor Wall. Last year we had some people in Iran, Dr. Shara Chachyan. In spite of all of this restriction that you have seen for the women in Iran, she had taken the flag and carried a big torch in Iran, increasing the awareness of endometriosis in Iran. And we Iranian fight against this evil regime. This year, we are honored. We are honored to introduce the hero of the EndoMarch this year, Dr. Dan Martin. Dan Martin is a great friend, a colleague, and one of the pioneers of increasing the awareness of endometriosis. I know Dan more than 40 years. He and I, maybe about 50 years, but we know each other for 40 years. And one of the biggest contributions that Dan did, besides other contributions, increase the awareness of the different manifestations of endometriosis in the pelvis. And we all, before, we thought endometriosis included black, yellow, black, and gunpowder. But then, with his pictures and showing different meetings, increase the awareness of manifestation of endometriosis lesion in the pelvis. It's an honor to present the in the award, the HIBA award this year to Dan. So I read it for you. The Endometriosis Worldwide March, Endo Hero of the Year, presented Dan Martin MD in honor of your impactful and significant work in helping people with endometriosis, March 2026.
Thank you, Cameron, Zena, and Alan, for putting together an excellent Congress for the American and Global Congress American College. We'll be happy to continue to advertise the Austrian meeting next year. Thank those of you who put together this excellent Congress. It's been wonderful listening to all the excellent presentations. Congratulations to all of you who presented your updates and extrapolations and continuation of ongoing research that helps us know where we're going now, where we are now, and where we're going in the future. I'd particularly like to thank Dr. Yona Tadir, who is here. I hope he's here tonight. If not, he presented today on what we expect in the future. He, in the 1970s, did the early research in laser laparoscopy that made it possible for Cameron and I to do our 1980s work. As Farr mentioned, on appearances, one of the lucky things for us was that laser plume is mutagenic in Salmonella typhi, which meant that on second look laparoscopies, we had to biopsy everything that was in the pelvis, whether we thought it was endometriosis or important or not. Luckily enough, we never found anything other than foreign body giant cell reaction and just general inflammation related as far as the worry we had. But what we found was that all of these funny looking things that we saw in the pelvis were endometriosis. And that was where this came from. It was a cancer research project, not an endometriosis research project. After that, it turned into endometriosis. So I'd like to particularly thank Yona and all of the rest of you who contributed so much to this meeting. And I hope that you will continue to do the same. And for the attendees, I would encourage you to get into research also, and particularly try to learn what it is that will make our patients better and keep them out of the high five-field recurrence rates that we now see no matter what we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Congratulations again for being Endo Hero of the Year. So, finally, I'd like to call my older brother, Dr. Nezhat, who come here for the closing. There you go.
Good evening, and thank you for all of you for being here. Thank you for your sacrifice, getting away from the shows and the gambling and having to read, sitting here listening to all these stories. But you are serving the purpose. You are serving the future. As we were walking around here, one of the waitresses here approached me. She said, "Thank you. I was diagnosed with endometriosis after 3 IVF failure and miscarriages. And you all are doing a good job." I asked her if you'd like to come and talk. She said no. I said, "Can I tell you a story?" She said yes. So I'd like you to clap for Farah, who volunteered to thank you for what all you are doing. You are helping the future. I'd like to see if Dr. Minal Shah could tell you she deals with teens who are suicidal, and she diagnosed them with endometriosis. I'd like to thank researchers like Dr. Stacy McAllister, who dedicated her life to doing research on endometriosis and looking for a genome. So we are not alone. We are all together from all aspects, from the people that work in the daily life, from industry who wants to contribute, from the researchers. So having said all of it, thank you again. Enjoy your evening, and forward we go.